The clock in the foyer hadn't stopped ticking in 80 years. Aria Winslow heard every second now. Each click a countdown she couldn't pause. The foreclosure notice lay flat on the kitchen table, $14,000 in red ink. She had $92 in her wallet. 3 days until seizure. Outside, the nor'easter had turned Brooklyn prehistoric. Snow didn't fall, it erased. The grid collapsed 6 hours ago. The brownstone's radiators went cold 20 minutes after that. Nia was asleep upstairs, wrapped in every blanket Aria owned. 6 years old and still young enough to believe her mother could fix anything. Then the engines came. Not civilian vehicles. These were modified, low, deliberate. The vibration traveled through the foundation before sound reached her ears. Aria's hand found the service pistol in the drawer, her grandfather's Colt, cleaned but never fired in her lifetime. 5 black SUVs jumped the curb in formation. Doors opened in sync. Men emerged without hesitation, moving like a single organism given limbs. Dark coats, no badges, no explanation. The 6th man stepped out last, taller, slower. Blood soaked through a white silk shirt, dark against snow. He didn't clutch the wound, just climbed her stoop with steady grace. Aria met him at the door with the pistol raised. 4 generations of women had defended this house. She wouldn't surrender it to a stranger bleeding on her steps. He looked at the gun, then at her. His eyes were dark, unreadable, profoundly tired. "I need shelter," he said. His voice was low, textured with an accent that softened consonants. "Not from the storm. I don't care what you need. You will." Behind him, his men formed a perimeter. They aimed outward, into the storm, scanning for threats she couldn't see. The man swayed, just slightly, just enough. Aria saw exhaustion beneath the control, the kind that came from holding power so tightly it carved you hollow. She'd felt it herself every night, counting dollars against debts she couldn't escape. "How many?" she asked. 6 inside, 3 on perimeter. "Armed?" "Yes." "Are you going to hurt my daughter?" Something in his stillness sharpened. "No." Aria lowered the gun, because Nia was upstairs in a freezing house, and these men had heat, resources, certainty. She opened the door. He stepped inside and the temperature changed. The moment his men crossed the threshold, the brownstone stopped being a sanctuary and became a tactical position. They moved without speaking. 1 disappeared into the basement. 2 swept upper floors with silent efficiency. The younger one positioned himself at the front window with equipment she didn't recognize. Aria stood in her own foyer and felt like a guest. "Kitchen," she said. He followed. She cleared the table, pushed the foreclosure notice aside, and gestured to a chair. The wound was a clean slice across his ribs. Surgical. Someone had tried to kill him with precision. "Name," she said. "Min-Ho Kong." She'd heard that name. Whispers in academic circles, rumors among the diaspora, the kind people didn't say out loud unless certain who was listening. Aria cut away the ruined shirt. His skin was mapped with old violence, scars telling a history of survival, not luck. She cleaned the wound with steady hands. He didn't flinch. "You chose this house," she said. "Yes." "Why?" "Because no one would look here." "You're lying." "Yes." The first stitch pulled skin together. His jaw tightened, but his eyes stayed on hers. "A woman who guards her home is more dangerous than a man who guards a throne." Upstairs, a door creaked. Small footsteps. Min-Ho raised one hand, slow, deliberate. The man at the window melted into shadow. Nia appeared in the doorway, drowning in blankets, eyes wide and curious. "Mama?" "It's okay, baby. Go back to bed." But Nia was looking at Min-Ho, not with fear, with the blunt assessment only children possess. "Are you hiding?" she asked. "Yes." "From the paper men?" Aria's chest constricted. Nia had heard her on the phone with lawyers, had understood more than any 6-year-old should. "From men worse than that," Minho said. Nia nodded, satisfied. "He has a kind face." Then she padded back upstairs. Aria tied off the final stitch. Minho stood, testing the repair. "How long?" she asked. "Until the storm breaks. And then?" "Then I leave." Aria looked at the foreclosure notice on the table, at the blood on her hands, at the men who'd turned her inheritance into a fortress without asking. She'd let him in to protect Nia from the cold, but standing here, watching Minho button a borrowed shirt with careful movements, Aria understood. She'd traded one threat for another, and this one had already decided she was worth protecting. The question is, what does a man like that expect in return? Drop a comment if you think you know, because what happens next will prove you wrong. Before we continue, I need your help. We're on a mission to hit 1,000 subscribers, and every single subscription gets us closer to that goal. If you enjoy stories about complicated love, about people who choose each other despite the odds, please hit that subscribe button. And I'd love to know, where are you listening from? Drop a comment and tell me your city or country. Building this community means everything, and knowing where you all are from makes it even special. By dawn, the brownstone had transformed. Aria woke to the smell of real coffee and the hum of a generator she didn't own. Radiators pumped heat for the first time in days. She found Minho's men in her kitchen, moving with surgical coordination. One cooking, another monitoring laptops displaying camera footage, the third reinforcing the back door with steel brackets that gleamed against century-old wood. "Where's my daughter?" "Upstairs. Dae-hyun is reading to her." Aria took the stairs 2 at a time, found Nia curled on her bed while a man built like concrete sat cross-legged on the floor reading "Where the Wild Things Are" in accented but careful English. Nia grinned. "Dae-hyun does the voices, Mama." Aria wanted to be angry. Instead, she felt relief. For the first time in 2 years, someone else was carrying the weight. She hated how good it felt. Downstairs, Minho sat at her table reviewing documents. He'd showered, using her water, her space, and now wore clothes that fit too well to be borrowed. "You changed my locks," Aria said. "Yes." "Without asking." "Would you have said yes?" She didn't answer. Minho slid a plate toward her, eggs, toast, fruit she hadn't bought. "Eat." "I'm not hungry." "You're exhausted. Eat." The command bypassed her anger and hit something deeper, the part that had forgotten what it felt like to be directed. She sat. She ate. "How long have you been alone?" he asked. 2 years, since Marcus died. He left you the debt." He didn't know. Predatory loan, balloon payment he never saw coming. Minho's expression didn't soften, but something in his stillness changed. "Summit Global. They specialize in legacy seizures, properties with history." "How do you—" "Because I know how predators work." He leaned back. "You've been fighting them alone, exhausted, trying to preserve something men like them see as inventory." Aria's throat constricted. She'd never said it out loud, the weight of being the last Winslow, the only one left to guard 80 years of survival. "You can't save it by yourself," he said. "I have to." "Why?" "Because it's mine. Because my great-grandmother bought it when black families weren't supposed to own property here. Because if I lose it, I lose proof that we mattered." Minho stood, walked to the window. "I understand legacy. I also understand cost." "What does that mean?" "It means you opened your door to me. That decision has already changed your life." Before she could respond, Ji-hoon appeared. "Huimong, movement 3 blocks east." Minho shifted, configuration to command in a heartbeat. "Configuration? 2 vehicles, civilian cover, scanning pattern. Time to intercept? 12 minutes. Minho looked at Aria. "Take Nia to the basement, now." "What's happening?" "Someone's looking for me.
If they find this location, you become leverage, not a person, a tactical asset. Then leave, Aria said. If I leave now, they'll investigate, discover a single mother who recently housed a fugitive. Minho stepped closer. Do you understand what that makes you? A target. Exactly. Aria went upstairs, collected Nia, descended to the basement. Dae-hyun followed, stationing himself at the stairs with a weapon she pretended not to see. Nia curled against her. Are the bad men coming? I don't know, baby. Mr. Kang won't let them hurt us. The certainty in her daughter's voice made Aria's chest ache. In one night, a stranger had become Nia's guardian. The speed of that trust terrified her. Upstairs, controlled movement, Minho's voice low and steady, then silence. 20 minutes, 30. Finally, footsteps. Minho appeared. They passed. You're safe. For how long? Long enough. In the kitchen, the foreclosure notice was gone from the table. Where is it? Aria demanded. I took a photograph. Why? Because I'm going to solve your problem. That's not your... You gave me shelter. I'm returning the favor. I didn't ask for... You opened the door. His gaze locked on hers. That was the ask. What did you do? Sent information to someone who makes predatory firms disappear. Disappear how? Minho's smile was a blade wrapped in silk. You don't want those details. Aria stood at a crossroads. She could demand answers, reclaim control, or she could let Minho erase her debt with methods she'd never approve. The choice between integrity and survival. Minho watched her wrestle with it, didn't push, just waited with the patience of someone who knew which way exhaustion always leaned. How long until I know? Aria asked quietly. By morning. That night, Aria lay awake, knowing somewhere in the city, Minho's people were dismantling her enemies with silent efficiency. She'd wanted to save the brownstone herself. Instead, she'd let a criminal do it. And the worst part, the part that kept her staring at the ceiling, was how much lighter she felt. The notification arrived at 6:47 a.m. Summit Global Corporation, Emergency Restructuring Notice. Due to catastrophic data breach and federal investigation, all foreclosure proceedings suspended indefinitely. No further action required. Aria read it 4 times. Her debt hadn't been paid. It had been erased, along with the entire company. She found Minho in the kitchen. What did you do? I solved your problem. You destroyed an entire company. I exposed an illegal operation already violating federal lending laws. The destruction was theirs. You had no right. I had your compliance. I never... You didn't stop me. Minho stood, moved closer. Last night you knew what I was doing, and you chose silence. Because you didn't give me a choice. I gave you exactly one choice. Stop me, or let me save you. You chose. The truth hit like a fist. Aria had known, and she'd let it happen because she was tired of losing. I didn't want it this way, she breathed. You wanted the house. Not like this. Then give it back. Aria's breath stopped. What? Walk away. Reject the gift. Let Summit Global recover and seize your home. Minho tilted his head. Or keep it and live with how you got it. The choice was a knife. Either way, she bled. You made me complicit, she said. I made you safe. Those aren't the same thing. In my world, they are. I'm not in your world. Minho's expression didn't change. You are now. Ji-hoon appeared. Humang, update about the restructuring. Minho left. Aria stood alone, staring at her phone, at the notification that had saved her home and gutted her autonomy. An hour later, she found Minho in the parlor, studying the photographs on the mantel. Your great-grandmother, he said. What was her name? Claudette. Tell me about her. She bought this house in 1945, saved every penny working as a seamstress. Banks wouldn't give her a loan, so she paid cash, walked into the office with a bag of small bills and demanded the deed. The clerk tried to refuse. She stood there for 6 hours until he relented. Stubbornness runs in your family. Survival runs in my family. Min-ho turned to face her. Then you understand why I did what I did. No. He stepped closer. Because watching you fight alone reminded me of my mother. She raised me in a country that didn't want us, worked 3 jobs. When men came to take what little we had, she stood in the doorway with a kitchen knife. Aria's breath caught. What happened? They tried. The silence was complete. She taught me 2 things: how to survive when the world wants you dead, and how to recognize when someone else is doing the same. His hand touched Claudette's photograph. You opened the door because you saw a man who could help you survive. I'm helping because I see a woman who deserves to. You don't get to decide what I deserve. No, but I can decide what I give. Before Aria could respond, Ji-hoon returned, expression tight. Humang, privately. They left. Raised voices filtered through walls, then silence. Min-ho emerged alone, expression carved from stone. I need to tell you something, he said. Her pulse spiked. I didn't choose your house randomly, and I'm not hiding from a coup. He paused. I'm orchestrating one. The floor tilted. What? 3 months ago, I identified 15 members of my organization planning to fracture the syndicate. I moved first, used the storm as cover to isolate and remove them. The men hunting you are hunting traitors. I'm not the target. I'm the architect. Aria's breath came in short bursts. Then why hide here? Because during a purge, visibility is liability. Your house provided perfect cover, off the grid, historically invisible, occupied by someone with no connection to my world. Until now. You used me. I protected you. The 2 aren't mutually exclusive. Everything you said was true, incomplete but true. And the debt? A secondary target. Your situation simply gave me additional motivation. Aria wanted to scream. Why tell me now? Because Phase 2 requires a choice. If I leave today, you remain a footnote, forgotten. But if I stay through final consolidation, you become a keystone, the house where the Humang rebuilt his empire. Which makes me permanently visible to everyone who hates me. Or I leave now, erase my presence as thoroughly as I erased your debt. You go back to being anonymous and unprotected. That's not a choice. That's extortion. That's survival. Min-ho stepped closer. You know it. Your great-grandmother knew it. Aria looked at the photographs, at Claudette's fierce expression. How long? 48 hours. I need time. You have until sunset tomorrow. He turned to leave. Min-ho. He stopped. When you chose this house, did you know about Claudette? The pause told her everything. Yes, he said quietly. I chose this house because a woman who stood in an office for 6 hours demanding respect was exactly the kind of legacy I wanted protecting my back. Does protection become possession when you can't refuse it? Comment your answer, because what Aria decides next will define everything. Sunset came too fast. Aria spent the day avoiding Min-ho, haunting rooms like a ghost in her own life. The brownstone felt different, not occupied, something worse, shared. By evening, the nor'easter had weakened. Through the window, she could see streetlights, civilization returning. Time was running out. She found Min-ho in the study reviewing documents with Ji-hoon. They spoke in Korean, the cadence unmistakable, strategy, consolidation, the architecture of power being assembled. Ji-hoon saw her first, left. "You've decided," Min-ho said. "I've thought. There's a difference." "Then think out loud." Aria moved to the window. "If I say no, you leave. I go back to normal." "Yes. But your enemies will remember this house exists. Eventually." "So no means delayed danger. Yes means immediate protection with permanent visibility." "Correct. Tell me the truth. If I say no, if I demand you leave tonight, will you?" The pause stretched. "Yes," Min-ho said finally. "Even though it jeopardizes your consolidation?" "Yes." "Why?" "Because forcing you defeats the purpose." "What purpose?" "Proving that protection can exist without possession." The confession rewrote everything. "You don't believe that." "I'm trying to." Aria looked at him, really looked. Past the authority and violence, she saw exhaustion, the same weight she'd been carrying. "What do you want?" she asked. The question caught him off guard. "I want to finish what I started." "That's not what I asked." Min-ho's gaze locked on hers, and she saw something unguarded. Want. Not simple desire, something deeper. "I want you to choose to stay," he said quietly. "Not because I've maneuvered you, because you want protection with complications instead of freedom with risk." "That's still not a real choice." "It's the only choice that exists." Footsteps pounded up the stairs. Ji-hoon appeared. "Humong, situation." "Where?" "2 blocks west, vehicle, 3 passengers, circling." "Known?" "No, pattern's wrong." Min-ho turned to Aria. "Basement, now." "Not until you tell me." "Someone found us. We don't know who. Please." The please did it. Aria nodded. Dae-hyun's voice crackled through comms. "Humong, they stopped. Front door. 1 passenger exiting." "Armed?" "Unclear. Not tactical." A knock echoed through the house. 3 measured strikes. Formal. Ji-hoon positioned himself at the peephole, went still, then turned. "It's Councilman Ri." Min-ho's reaction told her everything. This was someone who mattered. Let him in. The man who entered was older, silver-haired, moving with the confidence of someone whose words did damage. He saw Min-ho, nodded, then his gaze landed on Aria with focused assessment. "Chairman Kong, interesting choice of refuge." "Councilman Ri, I wasn't expecting you." Clearly, Ri's attention remained on Aria. "And this is who?" Min-ho stepped between them. "The own-homer, uninvolved." "Nothing suggests uninvolved," Ri smiled, cold and precise. "You chose this house for a reason." Aria understood. This was a test. Ri had come to assess whether she was an asset, a liability, or a weakness. "I offered shelter during a storm, that's all." "Generous. Practical. For my daughter." Ri glanced at Min-ho. "She's well-trained." "She's honest," Min-ho said flatly. "Even better." Ri turned back. "Do you know who I am?" "No." "I'm the person who decides whether Chairman Kong's consolidation succeeds or fractures into civil war, which means I decide whether your involvement remains invisible or becomes evidence." Surgical threat. Aria's pulse spiked. "What do you want?" "Assurance this house serves the consolidation, not the chairman's personal interests." Ri thought this was about romance, about Min-ho's judgment being compromised. "This house serves survival," Aria said quietly. "Mine, my daughter's." Min-ho offered protection in exchange for discretion. "And when the storm ends, the arrangement ends." Ree studied her, finally nodded. Acceptable. Complete your consolidation, Chairman, quickly. Then he left. Aria turned to Min-ho. What just happened? You proved you're not a weakness. And if I hadn't, then he would have made you one. By killing me? By using you to destabilize me. Same result. Aria's knees went weak. She'd been seconds from becoming a weapon against him. This is your world. Yes. And I'm in it now. Yes. Naya's voice called from upstairs. Mama! Min-ho caught her wrist, gentle but unyielding. Tomorrow, final decision. I thought I just made it. You made it for Ree. Now, make it for yourself. He released her. Aria climbed the stairs and found Naya safe in bed. Is everything okay? Aria smoothed her daughter's hair and lied. Everything's fine, baby. But Dae-hyun stood in the doorway, still protecting, still present. And outside, the storm finally broke. Morning came with sunlight. Aria stood at the window watching the city emerge from snow. Plows had cleared streets, people moved on sidewalks, the nor'easter had passed. So had the deadline. Min-ho found her there. You're quiet. I'm thinking. About. I found something last night. Couldn't sleep, so I went through my great-grandmother's papers. She pulled the leather journal from the mantel. Claudette kept records about the house, the neighborhood, who she bought from. She opened to a marked page. She bought it from Chen Wei-long, 1945. He was leaving the country, needed to liquidate, couldn't use traditional channels because of immigration restrictions. Min-ho went still. The sale was legal but invisible, cash transaction recorded in private ledgers, not public records. She looked up. For 80 years, this house has existed in official documentation, but not in networks that matter to people like you. Which is why I chose it. No, you chose it because you already knew. Your people researched it, found the gap, realized this house was historically invisible. Min-ho didn't deny it. I was never random, Aria said. I was strategic. Yes. Everything you said about recognizing my family's strength was true. Both things can be true. The distinction mattered. Aria hated that it did. What happens now? Min-ho glanced outside. 2 SUVs were loaded. His men moved with quiet efficiency, erasing evidence. Now I leave. Consolidations complete. Threats contained. And me? You keep your house, raise your daughter, go back to your life. Marked. Protected. Same thing. No. Protection means I keep you safe. Marking means everyone knows I will. Min-ho pulled something from his pocket, a small gold coin with a crane embossed on one side, a phone number on the other. If a car you don't recognize parks outside, show them this. If someone knocks who doesn't belong, call that number. He pressed the coin into her palm. His fingers lingered, long enough for her to feel the warmth, the certainty. Then he let go. You'll survive this, the same way Claudette survived, by doing what needed to be done and refusing to apologize. She stood in an office for 6 hours. I let a crime lord into my home and kept your daughter safe in a world designed to take everything from you. Min-ho's expression softened, barely. Same strategy, different century. Ji-hoon appeared. Huimeng, we're ready. Min-ho looked at Aria one last time. If you need me, use the coin. If you don't, burn it. Which do you want me to do? I want you to have the choice. He turned to leave. Min-ho. He stopped. Thank you, and I hate you for it. His smile was brief, genuine, devastating. I know. Then he left. Aria watched black SUVs pull away. The house fell silent. Naya appeared at the stairs.
Did Mr. Kang leave? Yes, baby. Is he coming back? Aria looked at the coin in her palm, at the choice Min-ho had given her. I don't know. I liked him. I know. He made you smile. Aria's breath caught. She hadn't realized, but Min-ho had reminded her what it felt like to share the weight. Is love protection when you can never refuse it? Drop your answer below, because Aria's just realized she can't. 1 week later, a package arrived. Inside, the full legal deed to the brownstone, transferred to Aria Winslow, free and clear. Beneath it, a handwritten note. Your great-grandmother stood for 6 hours. You stood for 3 days. Both count as victory. M. Aria burned the note, kept the deed, hid the gold coin in Claudette's journal. And every night she stood at the window wondering if the next unfamiliar car would be threat or salvation, wondering if she'd use the coin. The house was hers now, completely, legally, irrevocably. But so was the question Min-ho had left behind. When protection and possession become indistinguishable, is freedom just another word for being alone? Aria didn't have an answer, because the truth, the one that kept her awake, was that she didn't want to burn the coin, didn't want to sever the connection, didn't want to return to being the woman who fought every battle alone. Min-ho had invaded her life, saved her home, made her complicit. And somewhere in those 3 days, he'd done something worse. He'd made her believe shared weight was worth the cost of shared danger. That protection, even when it looked like possession, was still a kind of love. The storm had broken, but its consequences would echo for the rest of her life.